The little girl's voice cut through the noise of the toy store like a whisper meant only for him. Mom says wishes don't work, can you help mine? For a man who negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking, that single sentence hit harder than any boardroom ultimatum. He froze mid-step, the polished floor reflecting the fluorescent lights above and the weight of memories he thought he'd buried years ago. Daniel Carter hadn't planned to be there. As the CEO of a global tech company, his days were mapped down to the minute, his nights filled with reports instead of rest. But 2 days before Christmas, a delayed flight and an uncharacteristic impulse had led him into a neighborhood toy store. He told himself it was for a donation drive his company sponsored every year, though the truth was lonelier, he didn't want to go back to an empty apartment just yet. He turned and saw her standing alone in the aisle, no taller than his waist, bundled in a faded pink coat with red mittens too big for her hands. Her hair was clipped to one side, as if someone had taken extra care despite having very little time. She looked up at him with a mix of hope and fear, the kind that only comes from asking when you've already been told no too many times. Daniel crouched down, ignoring the sharp crease forming in his tailored pants. "What's your wish?" he asked softly. She hesitated, then pointed to a doll on the shelf. Not the biggest or the flashiest, just one dressed like a mother, carrying a tiny bag. "It's for my mom," she said. "She says she doesn't need presents anymore. But she cries at night when she thinks I'm asleep. I think she's tired of being strong." Behind her, a woman stood a few steps away, frozen between shelves. She looked young but worn down, her arms folded protectively over herself, eyes sharp with the reflex of someone who had learned to expect judgment before kindness. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Daniel saw something painfully familiar there, pride fighting desperation. "I'm sorry," the woman said quickly, stepping forward. "She shouldn't bother you." "It's okay," Daniel replied. She didn't. The girl watched them both, sensing the tension. "I just wanted to ask," she murmured. "Because you look like someone who knows how to make things happen." That nearly broke him. Daniel remembered being 8 years old, standing in a grocery store while his mother counted coins with shaking hands, pretending everything was fine. He remembered wishing for small things then: milk without checking the price, a winter coat without holes, a night without worry. Back then, he'd learned that wishes didn't magically come true. People made them come true. Or they didn't. He reached for the doll, then paused, glancing at the price tag. The woman noticed and stiffened, already preparing to refuse. Instead, he added a small jewelry box from a nearby display, simple, elegant, nothing flashy. At the counter, he paid quietly, ignoring the cashier's curious glance. No assistance, no announcements, just a man making a choice. When he returned, he knelt again and handed the bag to the little girl. "Wishes do work," he said gently. "They just need help sometimes." Her eyes widened as if he'd handed her the moon. "Really, really." The woman's composure cracked. "We can't accept this," she whispered, voice trembling. "You don't even know us." Daniel met her gaze. "I know enough," he said. "And I know what it's like to be told you have to do everything alone." Tears spilled freely now, and she nodded, unable to speak. The girl hugged the bag to her chest and threw her arms around Daniel's neck with the fierce gratitude of a child who knows exactly how rare kindness can be. As they walked away, Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. He watched them disappear into the crowd, the store lights glowing warmer than before. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like the richest man in the room and the poorest at heart. But the story didn't end there. 2 weeks later, back in his glass-walled office overlooking the city, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about them. He'd spent his life building systems, solving problems, optimizing outcomes, yet one small moment in a toy aisle had done more to quiet his restless mind than any success he'd achieved. Acting on impulse again, he asked his assistant to track down a local community center connected to the donation program. That's how he learned about Lily and her mother, Emma. Emma had lost her husband 3 years earlier to a workplace accident. The settlement barely covered medical bills. She worked nights at a diner and days cleaning offices, doing everything she could to keep life normal for her daughter. The doll from the toy store now sat proudly on Lily's bed, and the jewelry box, inside it, a modest necklace, had become Emma's reminder that she wasn't invisible. Daniel didn't want to swoop in like a savior. He knew how that felt too. Instead, he offered opportunity, job training, flexible work hours at one of his company's partner firms, childcare support. Not charity, but a bridge. The challenges weren't erased overnight. Emma struggled with trusting help, with balancing exhaustion and hope. Daniel wrestled with stepping out from behind his title, learning how to show up as a human being instead of a decision maker. There were setbacks, moments when old fears resurfaced, when pride threatened to undo progress. But slowly, things changed. Emma found her footing. Lily started school with confidence instead of worry. And Daniel, for the first time since his mother passed away, felt connected to something real, something that couldn't be measured in profits or growth charts. Months later, at a small community event, Lily ran up to him, beaming. "My mom doesn't cry at night anymore," she announced proudly. "She says wishes still don't work by themselves, but people do." Daniel smiled, his eyes burning. She's right. That night, standing under simple string lights with laughter around him, Daniel realized the truth he'd been chasing his whole life. Success wasn't about how high you climbed alone, it was about how often you stopped to kneel, to listen, to help someone else stand. And sometimes, the most powerful wishes aren't the ones we make for ourselves, but the ones we choose to make come true for someone else.